Ladies and gentlemen, it is a very great pleasure to welcome you all here this evening to the delegation of the Ismaili Imamat for this evening's program. My name is Khalil Shariff. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Aga Khan Foundation Canada, and we are delighted to be partnering with the North-South Institute this evening to launch this very important, provocative, and timely report. Only the most recent of an annual series of these reports, which NSI has become known for producing. We have an important evening this evening. It is great to have such a large group of people come out for a discussion about international development, because it is, of course, our conviction, and has been for many, many years, that the most pressing global issues of our day are actually development issues, that those are the issues which are the most pressing and the most animating of our time. This evening is important for a few reasons, and I thought I'd just go by way of introduction through those reasons. The first is, of course, this is International Development Week, and this is our opportunity to commemorate it. There are events happening across the country, across institutions, and we were very pleased that this important landmark report could be launched this week during International Development Week. It is important also because last month, the North-South Institute was ranked as the best small think tank in the world. It is a significant achievement. Many of us who have had opportunities to both work with and support the North-South Institute over the many years since it has been established know of its quality, and it is heartening to see that that quality is now globally recognized. And so, Joe, to you and your team, congratulations. It is an extraordinary honor for you and for the country. More importantly, it reminds us that we have an extraordinary resource here, a knowledge resource for our development efforts. And that is, of course, something that we should not take for granted. And again, AKFC has had many years of collaboration with NSI, and we're happy that this is the most recent episode in that long history. There is a third reason why this is an important evening, and that's because this space is really dedicated to exploring the great issues of the day. 3 years ago, when the Prime Minister and His Highness the Aga Khan inaugurated this building, they articulated at that point a joint aspiration that this space should be used to bring together people in Ottawa and in Canada and indeed in the world to talk about the great issues of the day in a way that might lift our horizons, that might lift our sights and our aspirations for what we might contribute to a more prosperous, a more peaceful, a more pluralist world. And since then, we have sought as best as we could to animate that mandate. And it is great at the beginning of 2012, at our first big event, to be able to try to fulfill that mandate with a discussion of the issues that Joe and his team have laid out so articulately in this report. And finally, it's a very important evening because we have a very important keynote speaker. Now, we have all agreed amongst ourselves that we won't go through exhaustive bios. In fact, there is a piece of paper on your chairs that goes through all the bios of the people who will be speaking tonight, so we're not going to do that in any length up here. But of course, Margaret is the president of the Canadian International Development Agency, an institution who in both its history and in its current activities is an enormously influential part of the Canadian development landscape and indeed of the global development landscape. And Margaret has exercised leadership of the agency during a time of great change and flux in Canada for sure, but obviously in the world. That the forces at work that are impacting the development landscape are changing dramatically. And it has been a challenging time to have the burden of leadership of the agency. And it has been a great pleasure and a privilege to be able to work with Margaret and her colleagues at the agency over the years to identify some of those challenges, to seek to meet the ones that we can productively, and to continue to work together to see if we can develop a joint aspiration for what Canada's role in the global development landscape ought to be.